Welcome to Sleepy Science. Have you ever wondered what your mind does in those moments just before sleep? Tonight, we're stepping inside the hidden world of your own consciousness, a place you feel every second but rarely notice. Thoughts appear from nowhere, memories flicker like tiny sparks, and awareness moves as a warm, gentle light behind your eyes. In this video, you'll discover calming, fascinating facts about your mind, insights that make you feel more relaxed, focused, and quietly amazed at how it works. So take a slow breath, let your thoughts settle, and let this gentle journey begin. If moments like this make you feel calm and curious, subscribe now and join the journey before you drift off. Awareness is the quiet thing inside you that knows you are here. It feels simple, so simple that most people never stop to ask what it really is. But when you look closely, it becomes one of the strangest things in the world. Scientists call it subjective experience, a soft phrase for something very huge. It means the inner world you feel, but no one else can see. Right now, you can feel your breathing. You can hear the sound around you. You can sense your body resting. You can feel your mind watching. This gentle watching, this quiet noticing, that is awareness. It is the sense that you are the one inside your thoughts, the one behind your eyes, the one living your life from the inside. And the strange thing is, no one really knows how this is possible. Your brain is only a group of cells, soft cells, wet cells, silent cells, yet somehow they produce the feeling of you, a feeling of being the observer, a feeling of having a point of view, a feeling of being able to say, I am here. Here's a soft hook to think about. If someone touches your hand, you do not just feel the pressure. You feel that the hand is yours. You feel that you are the one being touched. But where does that sense of me come from? It has no shape, no color, no sound. Yet it is the most real thing you have. Scientists study the brain. They see neurons firing. They see signals moving. They see tiny chemical changes. But none of these physical things explain why it feels like something to be alive. Why does the world not look empty and flat from inside your mind? Why isn't everything dark and quiet? Why does awareness shine at all? Why does the world appear to you and not to something else? This question has been asked for hundreds of years. And every time someone thinks they solved it, the mystery becomes bigger. Because the more we learn about the brain, the stranger it gets. For example, your brain cannot feel pain. It has no pain sensors. But it is the same brain that lets you feel everything else. Here is another soft hook. When you look at the sky, you see blue. But what is blue inside your mind? There is no real color inside your brain. Your brain sits in darkness. No light reaches it. Yet it creates the bright color you see. It creates the feeling of color, the experience of it. Something no machine can copy. You don't just see blue. You feel blue. You feel it as something gentle and calm. Something cool, something open. The feeling of color is an example of awareness. It is a tiny window into the mystery, a small taste of something big. Another example is the way you sense yourself. Right now, you know where your hands are. Even without looking, you can close your eyes and still feel your body. This is called proprioception. But again, how does your mind feel position at all? Your nerves send signals. Yes, but the signals are just electricity. Electricity does not have feelings, but your awareness does. Some scientists think awareness comes from the whole brain working together. Some think it comes from deep brain structures. Some think it comes from tiny patterns in the cells. Some believe we still do not understand the brain well enough to explain any of it. And some think awareness is not something the brain makes. They think awareness might be something the brain receives, like a radio receiving a signal. This idea is not proven, but it shows how open the mystery is. There is no single answer. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. Here is a peaceful thought. You are the only person who has ever experienced your exact inner world. No one else has heard your thoughts the way you hear them. No one else has felt your feelings the way you feel them. No one else has seen the world exactly as you see it. Your awareness is unique, private, soft, and impossible to copy. Even if someone recorded your memories, or mapped your brain, or studied your habits, they still would not have your inner world. They would not have the quiet watcher inside, the voice that listens, the presence that feels. This presence is something science still struggles to describe. Here's another gentle hook. When you close your eyes, awareness does not turn off. It becomes a calm space, a soft space, a space where thoughts float up on their own, where images appear without effort, where silence feels like a warm room. Why does silence still feel like something? Even silence is an experience. Even darkness has a texture inside your mind. This simple fact makes awareness even more mysterious. You cannot escape it. You cannot turn it off without falling asleep. It is always there, waiting, watching, listening, holding your whole world. Another strange thing is this. Awareness is the only thing you are always sure of. You can doubt your memories. You can doubt your thoughts. You can doubt what someone says, but you cannot doubt that you are aware. The moment you try to doubt it, you become aware of the doubt. This is one of the deepest facts about consciousness. Your awareness is the base of everything you experience, the foundation, the soft light behind every thought. And here's another soft hook to keep you curious. Right now you are aware of the words I am saying, but you are also aware of something else. The you that is noticing the words, that you feels separate from the thoughts, separate from the sounds, separate from the body, almost like a small, quiet observer living inside. Where is this observer located? Is it in the brain? Is it in the body? Is it everywhere or nowhere? No one knows. And that is what makes the mystery of awareness so peaceful. You don't need the answer to feel the calm. The calm comes from knowing you are part of something bigger, something science has not yet unlocked, something the world is still trying to understand. Awareness is gentle, it is quiet, it is deep, and it is the first doorway into the larger mystery of consciousness. Your brain is the quiet engine behind your awareness. It works in complete silence. No sound, no light, no movement you can feel. Yet it creates every thought you have ever had, every feeling, every memory, every moment of awareness. Inside your brain, there are about 86 billion neurons. Each one is a tiny living cell. Each one sends small electrical signals, and each one connects with many others. Some neurons have thousands of connections. Some have tens of thousands. Some are like tiny cities of activity. These signals are fast, so fast that they move before you even notice them. When you touch something warm, the signal reaches your brain in less than a second. When you see something, the message moves even faster. Your brain reacts before you can stop it, before you can analyze it, before you can even think. And here is a gentle hook. You might feel like you control your thoughts, but your neurons start working before you feel the thought rising. The brain prepares, then awareness follows, like watching a tiny spark light up inside you. Scientists call these sparks neural firing. It is a simple term, but what it creates is not simple at all. When millions of neurons fire together, they form patterns. These patterns shape your awareness from second to second. They decide what you notice, what you ignore, what you feel, and what you think. Imagine a soft sea of lights blinking on and off. Some blink fast, some blink slow, some blink in waves, some blink in groups. These blinking lights are what your mind uses to create your inner world. Your brain never rests. Even when you sleep, it is sending quiet signals. It is cleaning itself. It is sorting memories. It is repairing tiny cells. It is preparing you for the next day. Here is another gentle hook. Most of your brain activity happens without you knowing. Right now, your brain is controlling your breathing, your heartbeat, your temperature, your balance, your digestion, and the position of your body. You do none of this on purpose. You do it because your neurons work in the background, silent, steady, constant. If you put your hand on your chest, you can feel your heart beat, but you cannot feel your neurons firing. You cannot feel the small sparks inside your brain. Yet those sparks control everything, every second of your awareness. Neurons do not touch each other directly. There is a tiny space between them called a synapse. This space is incredibly small, so small that millions of them can fit on a single grain of sand. Signals jump across these tiny spaces using chemicals. These chemicals are called neurotransmitters. They carry messages from one cell to another, and the messages never stop. They move like soft streams in all directions. Some messages tell you to move your arm. Some tell you to breathe slow. Some tell you that you are warm or cold. Some tell you that you are calm. Some tell you that you are safe. Here is a soothing thought. Your awareness exists inside this silent communication, inside these small sparks, inside these tiny jumps from cell to cell. Yet awareness feels much bigger than that. It feels personal. It feels warm. It feels alive. How does something so small create something so deep? Scientists still do not know. They can see the signals. They can measure them. They can track them, but they cannot explain how signals become experience. For example, when you listen to a calming voice, your neurons fire in patterns. But the feeling of calm, where does that come from? The signal itself does not carry peace. It is only electricity, yet your awareness turns it into a warm, safe feeling, something you can sense inside you, something that feels real. When you think of a memory, patterns activate in the brain, but the memory itself does not live in one place. It is spread out across many neurons. It is a mixture of signals, a mixture of tiny lights. Here is another hook. If the same memory is stored across many cells, then every time you remember it, your brain rebuilds it, piece by piece, signal by signal. So the memory you feel may not be the same one you created long ago. It is a new version, a fresh pattern, a rebuilt moment. Your awareness sits on top of this constant activity. It is shaped by the signals, but it also shapes the signals in return. When you pay attention to something, you change the firing pattern in your brain. When you relax, the pattern slows. When you feel emotional, the pattern becomes stronger. Awareness and the brain speak to each other, like a calm conversation inside you. Brain waves are another part of this mystery. They are the slow patterns that move across large areas of your brain. When you are awake, some waves are fast. When you relax, they become slower. When you are close to sleep, they soften even more. These waves guide your awareness. They tell your mind whether it should focus or rest or prepare for dreams. Right now, because you are listening quietly, your brain waves are slowing down. They are moving in a soft rhythm that makes your body feel safe. This is not imagination. It is a real physical change happening inside you. Your neurons are calming. Your patterns are smoothing out. Your awareness is settling into a quiet space. Another gentle hook to wonder about. If your brain controls your awareness, why does awareness sometimes feel separate from the brain? Why does it feel like you are watching your thoughts instead of creating them? Why can you step back from your emotions and observe them? Why can you feel like a quiet listener inside your own head? No one fully understands this. Some scientists think awareness is the final layer of brain activity, a soft summary of signals. Others think awareness is something extra, something that appears when signals mix together in the right way, something more than the parts, like a warm glow that rises from a group of tiny sparks. Your brain does not tell you how it works. It only gives you the result: awareness. Sensation, thought, emotion, the feeling of being alive inside your own mind. When you think quietly, your neurons are busy. When you rest, they still work. When you sleep, they change patterns. When you wake, they change again. Your entire life is held inside these silent signals, yet you never hear them. You only feel the world they create. This silence is part of the beauty. You live inside something that never stops working, something that carries every moment of your awareness, something that stays with you from your first breath to your last. Your brain's silent signals are the hidden engine of consciousness, and understanding them is the next step in understanding yourself. There is a part of your mind that you never see. You cannot point to it. You cannot hear it. You cannot feel it working, but it is active every second of your life. This quiet part is called the subconscious mind, and it shapes far more of your thoughts and feelings than you might expect. You may believe you make choices with full awareness. You may feel like you control every thought, but much of your inner life comes from this hidden layer, a layer that works behind the scenes, a layer that guides you softly without asking for permission. Here is a gentle hook. You think you know yourself well, but the subconscious knows you even better. It remembers things you forgot years ago. It reacts before you even have time to think. And it holds small pieces of memories, sounds, and feelings that still shape your choices today. Your conscious mind is the part you notice, the thoughts you hear, the choices you make on purpose, the feelings you can explain. But under this is a wide, silent space, the subconscious. It listens to everything, it stores everything, it reacts to everything, even when you are not paying attention. If the conscious mind is like a small light in a dark room, then the subconscious is the entire room itself. Most of what you think, feel, or do begins in this hidden space. This is not because you are weak or unaware. It is because the brain designed it this way. It saves energy. It keeps you safe. It helps you act quickly. Think of the things you do without thinking: walking, blinking, brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, typing on a keyboard. You can do all these without telling yourself each step. Why? Because your subconscious learned them. It stores the steps. It repeats them. It becomes the quiet manager of your habits. Even your morning routine is mostly subconscious. You wake up. You stand, you stretch, you walk to the same place. You do things in the same order. You don't plan it every day. You simply do it. Your subconscious keeps you moving without needing attention. Here's a soft hook. Your brain loves shortcuts. It turns repeated actions into automatic routines. And once they move into the subconscious, they run on their own. You notice only a small amount of the information around you, but your subconscious notices almost everything. For example, you may not notice the sound of the air conditioner, but your subconscious does. You may not pay attention to the smell of a room, but your subconscious reacts to it. You may not think about the tone of someone's voice, but your subconscious reads it instantly and decides if you feel safe or uneasy. This hidden mind works fast, much faster than your thinking mind. It can understand emotions in a person's face in less than 1/10 of a second. It can sense danger before you have time to explain why. It can guide your mood without saying a single word. Scientists call this implicit processing, but you can think of it as quiet awareness that never sleeps. Your brain does not store memories like a computer. There is no folder. There is no single place. There is no box where old memories sit untouched. Instead, memories live in small pieces across the brain. Some pieces are conscious. You can recall them easily. Others are buried. You cannot reach them directly, but your subconscious uses them all the time. Think of a smell that suddenly reminds you of childhood. You were not thinking about that moment. You did not choose to remember it. It rose from the hidden mind. The subconscious brought it forward, not as a full memory but as a feeling, a small whisper of something long ago. Here's a gentle hook to think about. Most memories you forgot are not gone. They are still inside you. They live quietly in the subconscious, waiting for small triggers to bring them back. Your subconscious stores emotions too, tiny ones, strong ones, ones you didn't understand at the time, ones you don't want to remember, even emotions you never gave a name to. This emotional library guides your reactions today. You might feel nervous in a place you can't explain. You might feel calm with someone you just met. You might avoid something without knowing why. The subconscious remembers old experiences and tries to protect you. It says, "This felt safe before," or "This felt dangerous before," even if you have no conscious memory of it. At night while you sleep, the subconscious becomes active in another way. It sorts memories, it cleans, it organizes, and sometimes it sends dream fragments to the surface. Dreams are not random. They are pieces of thoughts, fears, hopes, and memories floating freely. Some are clear. Some are strange. Some feel familiar even when you cannot explain them. You might dream of a place you visited years ago, or see a face you forgot long ago, or feel an emotion from childhood. The subconscious mixes these fragments, not to confuse you, but to help your brain process your day, your feelings, your worries, and your hidden thoughts. Here is a soft hook. Some dreams speak the language of the subconscious. They send messages the conscious mind is too busy to hear, not in words, not in clear sentences, but through symbols, scenes, and feelings. Your brain is not trying to be mysterious. It is simply showing you parts of yourself that stay quiet in the daytime. Every day, your subconscious helps you in ways you never notice. It helps you avoid danger by sensing small clues. It helps you make quick choices when time is short. It helps you read emotions in other people. It helps you form habits that save your energy. It helps you keep your balance and coordinate your body. It helps you remember tiny details without trying. You may not think about it, but this hidden self is always working to support you. Even your sense of who you are comes partly from this hidden place. Your likes, your dislikes, your fears, your comfort zones, your personality, all shaped by years of memories and moments you barely noticed. You live on the line between two worlds. The world you can see inside your thoughts, and the world you cannot see, where the subconscious works quietly. Awareness sits at the top, but the foundation is deeper, broader, quieter. Scientists understand parts of it, but not all. Even today, the subconscious remains one of the most mysterious parts of the mind. The hidden self is not your enemy. It is your silent partner. It watches over you. It protects you. It guides you. It remembers your past and supports your present even when you are unaware of it. Understanding this hidden layer brings you closer to understanding consciousness itself, because consciousness is not just the thoughts you notice. It is also the quiet field of activity beneath those thoughts. Time is strange when you look at it closely. You feel it passing, but you can't hold it, you can't see it. You can only sense it inside your mind, and that sense is not always correct. Sometimes time feels fast, sometimes it feels slow, sometimes it almost feels like it stops. This is because your awareness of time is not the same as the time on a clock. Your brain has its own way to measure moments, And this inner clock is soft, flexible, and easy to change. Think about days that move very fast. Maybe you were busy. Maybe you were happy. Maybe you were doing something you enjoy. When your mind is active and full, it does not check the passing minutes as much. It jumps from one small task to another. It stays focused on what is happening now. Because of that, your inner clock loses track. Hours feel like minutes, and you look up and wonder where the day went. This is a simple sign that time inside the mind is different from time outside it. Now think about days that feel slow, days when you wait, days when you feel stressed, days when you keep checking the time. In moments like these, the brain becomes more alert. It pays too much attention to the passing seconds. It watches everything closely. And because it watches more, it feels more. Each second feels longer. Each minute stretches. And time begins to feel heavy. This is another sign that your mind creates its own version of time. It does not move in one straight line. It bends based on how you feel. Scientists say we have something like an internal clock. It is not a real object. It is not a piece of the brain you can point to. It is a system made from many parts working together. Your senses, your memory, your awareness, your emotions. They all help you guess how much time has passed. But this guess is never perfect. When you are calm, the clock slows down. When you are scared, the clock speeds up. When you dream, the clock breaks the rules completely. Dream time is one of the strangest things about consciousness. In dreams, you can live a whole story in only a few seconds of real time. You can walk through places you have never seen before. You can talk to people who are not there. You can chase something. You can run. You can fall. And when you wake up, it feels like all of this lasted minutes or even hours. But outside your mind, only a short moment passed. This shows how powerful the brain is at shaping your sense of time. Some dreams feel long because your brain fills them with details. It creates scenes. It creates actions. It creates feelings. And your mind treats all these things as real events. Even though the dream is short, the amount of information inside it is huge. So your memory thinks the dream lasted longer. This is one reason dream time feels stretched. It is like your mind is packing many moments into a tiny window, and this trick works well. Well enough that you don't notice it unless you think about it later. There are also moments when time feels strange even when you are awake. Think about times when you get very scared. Maybe something surprised you. Maybe something unexpected happened. In these moments, your brain becomes extremely alert. It gathers more information. It pays attention to every sound, every movement, every breath. Because your brain takes in so much detail, the moment feels slower. It feels like your mind is watching every frame. Scientists think this happens because your memory system becomes more active. You remember more of the event, so later it feels like it lasted longer than it did. There are also moments when time almost disappears. These happen when you are deeply focused, when you are doing something that pulls your full attention. You might be reading, or drawing, or working, or thinking about a small problem. When your mind is deeply inside something, it stops checking the clock. It stops measuring time. And when your awareness stops looking at time, time stops feeling real. You only notice the task, the page, the thought. And when you finally look up, you are surprised by how much time passed. It feels like you stepped out of the normal world for a moment. This experience is common, and it shows how connected time is to awareness. There is also the way you remember time. Memory affects how long something feels. If you have many new experiences in a day, you remember that day as long, because your mind stores more details. But if the day is simple and has no changes, your memory will store less. When you look back later, the day seems short. This is why childhood feels long when you think about it. Children are always learning. Every day is filled with new moments, new ideas, new emotions. The brain makes strong memories, and when you look back, the time feels full. But as you grow older, days become similar. Your mind stops marking them as different, and time starts to feel faster. Your sense of time also connects to your awareness of yourself. When you are lost in thought, time moves quietly. When you are stressed, you feel every second. When you are calm, time softens. And when you sleep, time loses its shape. Awareness and time work like partners. They shape each other. They move together. They create your sense of how life is unfolding. Some people think consciousness might not just watch time. It might actually shape it. Your mind turns moments into stories. It turns seconds into meaning. It turns small events into memories. And all these things create your personal timeline, not the one on the clock, the one inside you, the one that feels real. There is still so much we do not understand about how the brain keeps track of time. Scientists know the brain uses tiny signals. They know it uses patterns. They know it uses emotions. But the full picture is still unknown. Yet this mystery is calming, because it shows that your mind is not a machine. It is soft. It is flexible. It is alive. And it experiences time in its own quiet way. As you relax now, you can gently notice how time feels at this moment. Not the minutes, not the numbers, but the feeling inside your chest, the slow breath, the soft space between thoughts. This is your inner time, and it is one of the most peaceful things your mind can create. Some parts of the mind feel clear. You feel like you are the one choosing. You feel like you control your actions. You feel like every small decision comes from you. But when scientists look deeper, they find something surprising. The brain often makes choices before you even notice them, before you feel like you decided, before your awareness wakes up and says, "I chose this." This sounds strange, but it is one of the most interesting facts about consciousness. There are experiments that show this very clearly. In one famous test, people had to press a button whenever they wanted. They sat quietly. They waited. And when they felt ready, they pressed the button. They were also asked to say the moment they felt the decision appear. The moment the idea of pressing the button came into their mind. People thought this moment came before the action, but the machines told a different story. The brain signaled the action a little earlier than the person reported their decision. This means the brain started the process first, and the feeling of choosing came after. This small delay is not long. It is only a few hundred milliseconds, but it changes how we think about choice. If the brain begins the action before you notice the decision, then the conscious mind may not be the one starting everything. It may be the one watching. It may be the one that comes in a moment later and says, "Yes, that was my choice," even though the brain already began the movement. This creates a strange question. Who is really in control? You or the brain acting quietly in the background? Some scientists say the brain is like a fast worker. It gathers information. It predicts. It prepares actions. It does all of this with no need for conscious thought. Then, when the action is ready, consciousness steps in and notices it. You feel like you made the decision. You feel like you chose. But the choosing part may have already happened before your awareness arrived. This is not meant to take away your sense of freedom. Instead, it shows how complex and layered the mind really is. The idea becomes even more interesting when you think about everyday choices, when you pick food from a menu, when you decide what to say, when you reach for your phone. Many of these moments feel automatic. You do not think deeply about them. You simply act. And later, when you remember the moment, it feels like a decision. It feels like something you consciously picked. But in reality, your brain may have been working on the choice long before you noticed it. There is something calming about this. Your mind is helping you every second. It handles small things so you do not have to. It prepares actions so your life flows smoothly. It runs in the background like a soft engine that never stops. You only see the surface. You see the final step, the moment you feel the choice. But underneath that moment, the brain is busy. It gathers signals, it compares them, it makes tiny decisions. And then your awareness steps in and takes credit for the action. Some people worry about this idea. They ask if free will is real. They ask if we truly choose anything. But the truth is softer and more comforting. Your brain is you, your thoughts, your memories, your feelings, your habits. All of these shape the decisions your brain makes. So even if the choice begins before you feel it, it still comes from you. It comes from your history, your personality, your values, your desires. The conscious part of you is just not the first one to notice it. And that is okay. It still belongs to you. There is another experiment that shows how the brain prepares actions early. In some tests, scientists can predict what choice a person will make even before the person becomes aware of it. They look at brain patterns. They watch small signals, and they can guess the decision a few seconds before the conscious mind reports it. This does not mean everything is fixed. It does not mean your choices are locked. It simply means the brain builds up tiny steps toward a decision before the moment feels real to you. Your awareness sees the final step, not the path leading to it. This can explain why habits are so strong. When you do something many times, your brain learns the pattern. It becomes fast at starting the action. The choice begins before you even think, and you feel like you fall into the same behavior again and again. But this also shows how powerful small changes can be. If you slowly change your habits, your brain will learn those too. It will start new patterns before you notice them. And over time, your choices will feel easier and more natural. The illusion of control does not mean we have no control. It means control works differently than we imagine. It is not a simple command where you tell your body what to do. It is a wide system, a chain of signals, a mix of conscious and unconscious steps happening together. You are part of all these steps, but you are not always aware of the beginning. This also explains moments when you feel stuck, when you want to do something but your body does not move right away. The brain may be sending different signals. Some start the action, some pause it, some ask for more information. Your awareness sits in the middle, watching the process and waiting. It feels like indecision, but in reality, the brain is comparing many choices at once. It wants to pick the best one. This slow weighing can feel uncomfortable, but it is part of how control works inside the mind. There is also the soft feeling of intuition, when you act without thinking hard, when you sense the right choice quickly. This is your brain using information you did not notice, patterns you have learned, details you picked up without paying attention. The decision rises fast and you feel like it comes from nowhere, but it comes from the deeper layers of your mind, layers that work quietly and constantly. It is not random. It is not magic. It is your brain doing the job of control in a fast and silent way. Some people find comfort in knowing that not everything needs to be planned. The mind can guide you even when you do not see every step. The control is softer, not tight, not forced. It is like walking on a path that your brain lights up one little section at a time. You only see the next step, not the whole road, and that is enough. As you relax here, you can feel how gentle this idea is. You do not need to control every moment. You do not need to think about every small action. Your mind is helping you silently. Your choices still come from you, but they come in a soft way, a quiet way, a natural way, a way that makes life easier, not harder. There is a quiet voice in your mind that never really goes away. You hear it when you wake up. You hear it when you think. You hear it when you plan something. You hear it even when you try to stay silent. This voice is not spoken out loud. No one else can hear it, but it feels as real as any sound in the world. Scientists call this self-talk, and it is one of the most interesting parts of consciousness. It is the way the mind speaks to itself inside silence. Some people think this inner voice is strange. Others think it is normal. But almost everyone has it. It feels like a soft narrator inside your head. It comments on things. It repeats ideas. It asks questions. It argues. It guides. It can be kind. It can be harsh. It can be funny. It can be quiet. And sometimes it talks even when you don't want it to. This voice comes from the brain's language system. The same parts that help you speak out loud also help you speak inside your mind. Even when your mouth is closed, your brain still builds sentences. It still uses words. It still creates meaning. And you hear these words inside your awareness. One of the most surprising facts is that you do not always choose the thoughts you hear. Some thoughts appear from nowhere. You may be thinking about something simple, and suddenly your mind brings up something else. A memory, a fear, a random idea, a strange picture, a song, a voice from the past. These thoughts feel automatic. They rise on their own. The brain is always active even when you are resting. It sends signals, it tests ideas, it checks things. And sometimes those signals break into your awareness as sudden thoughts. This automatic activity comes from different parts of the brain working together. One part looks for patterns. Another keeps memories. Another creates language. Another watches your emotions. When these parts send signals at the same time, your mind builds them into a thought, and the thought appears in your inner voice. You hear it like a whisper or like a small echo. You do not create it on purpose, but it still feels like it belongs to you. Some people wonder why their inner voice sometimes talks too much. This happens because the brain likes to stay busy. Even when your body rests, your mind scans your world. It tries to guess what will happen next. It reviews what happened in the past. It rehearses conversations. It solves problems. It imagines different outcomes. All of this work shows up as thought streams, long lines of self-talk that move from one topic to another without any clear reason. This stream can sometimes feel endless, but there is a reason for it. The mind uses self-talk to make sense of life. It helps you understand your feelings. It helps you plan your day. It helps you practice what to say. It helps you prepare for challenges. It helps you learn from mistakes. These small inner conversations guide you without you noticing, and they help you move through the world with more understanding. There are moments when the inner voice becomes quiet. This often happens when you focus deeply on something, when you are watching a calm scene, when you feel safe, when you lie down and rest. In these moments, the brain does not need much language. It does not need to comment. It does not need to think ahead. It can simply sit in the present, and the voice softens. You may still feel thoughts move, but they are lighter, slower, easier to handle. This soft silence is one of the peaceful states the mind creates naturally. Some people think the inner voice is a single voice, but it can use many tones. Sometimes it sounds like you. Sometimes it sounds like someone from your past. Sometimes it sounds like a mix of different people. This is because the brain records many voices during life. It keeps memories of how people speak, and sometimes it uses these patterns when forming inner thoughts. It does not mean you are losing control. It simply means the brain is creative. It builds thoughts out of the tools it knows. The inner voice also helps with memory. When you think a sentence in your mind, your brain repeats the words, and repetition makes memory stronger. You remember things better when you say them in your head. This is why people use self-talk when studying. It helps the brain store information. The inner voice acts like a small teacher inside your mind, helping you learn and remember things without needing sound. Another important role of the inner voice is problem solving. When you face a decision, you may talk through it in your mind. You think about possible choices. You think about what might happen. You think about what you want. This inner conversation helps your brain see the situation more clearly. It slows down fast emotions. It gives you space to think, and it helps you make choices that fit who you are. Sometimes the inner voice becomes negative. It may repeat worries. It may judge you. It may bring up old memories. It may talk too fast. This happens when the emotional part of the brain becomes active. When you feel stressed, the mind tries to protect you. It warns you. It reminds you of danger. But sometimes it repeats these warnings too often. The good part is that the inner voice can be trained. When you speak to yourself kindly, your brain learns that tone. Over time, the voice becomes softer, friendlier, more comforting. One interesting fact is that young children do not start with an inner voice. They need to learn language first. At first, they talk out loud while playing or thinking. Over time, this outer speech moves inside. It becomes silent. It becomes private. And from that moment on, it becomes part of consciousness. This shows that the inner voice is learned, not something we are born with. It grows as the brain grows. The mind can also think without words. Sometimes thoughts appear as pictures, sometimes as feelings, sometimes as shapes or sounds. The inner voice is just one way the brain expresses ideas, but it is one of the clearest ways, and that is why it stands out. When you lie down at night, the inner voice may slow. You may hear softer thoughts, simple ideas, faint words. This is the mind preparing for rest. It sorts memories, it reviews the day, it checks emotions. And slowly the flow of thoughts becomes less sharp, less loud, less demanding. This quieting is important for sleep. It helps the brain shift into a calm state. As you listen now, you can notice your own inner voice gently watching these ideas. You may hear it repeat a sentence. You may hear it comment on something, or it may simply listen quietly. Whatever it does, it is part of you. It is one of the clearest signs that you are conscious, that you are aware, that you are alive. Feelings shape the way you see the world more than you realize. They rise inside you without warning. They change how you think. They change what you notice. They change what you remember. Emotions are not just reactions. They are signals from deep inside the mind and body. They guide your awareness. They shape your choices. They help you understand what matters and what does not. When a feeling appears, it often feels sudden. But inside the brain, the process starts earlier. The brain reads signals from the body all the time. Your heartbeat, your breathing, the tightness in your muscles, the warmth of your skin. These small signs tell the brain what you might be feeling before you even know it. If your heart speeds up, the brain pays attention. If your chest feels tight, the brain sends warnings. If your body relaxes, the brain softens too. This connection between body and mind is strong. It is one of the oldest systems humans have. Emotions rise because your brain tries to protect you. Happiness comes when things feel safe. Fear comes when something feels dangerous. Sadness comes when you lose something important. Anger comes when something feels unfair. Calmness comes when your body rests. Every emotion has a purpose, and each one carries a message. Even if you do not want the feeling, it still tries to help you understand what is happening. The moment an emotion appears, your awareness changes. You see things differently. You hear things differently. You think differently. When you feel happy, the world feels brighter. When you feel sad, everything feels slower. When you feel scared, you notice too many details. When you feel calm, your mind becomes open. These changes are not random. They are part of how consciousness works. The mind uses emotions to guide attention. One interesting part of emotional consciousness is how quickly feelings fade. Even strong emotions do not last forever. The brain cannot hold a high level of feeling for long. It uses energy, and when that energy drops, the emotion becomes softer. This is why anger cools down, fear settles, even deep sadness slowly changes. No emotion stays the same. They all move in waves. This is a natural part of the mind's rhythm. But some emotional moments become strong memories. You may forget many normal days, but you never forget the day something big happened. A moment of joy, a moment of fear, a moment of loss, a moment of love. These stay in the mind because emotional signals activate the memory centers of the brain. When something matters deeply, the brain marks it. It saves the details. It stores the feeling. It makes the memory strong so you can learn from it. This is why you remember the sound of someone's voice during an important moment, or the way the air smelled, or the way your heartbeat felt. Emotions make memories sharp. They give them weight. They help you learn what is important. Even years later, you can feel those memories again. Sometimes the feeling returns clearly, sometimes only a small echo, but it reminds you of who you are and what you have lived through. The connection between the heart and the mind is not just poetic, it is real. When you feel something, your heart responds. When you are scared, it beats faster. When you are sad, it slows. When you are calm, it stays steady. The brain and the heart send signals back and forth. They watch each other. They learn from each other. And this constant communication shapes your awareness in every moment. Breathing also plays a role. When your breath becomes fast, your mind becomes alert. When your breath becomes slow, your mind becomes peaceful. The body and mind work together like two sides of the same system. You cannot separate them. They are always talking to each other in quiet signals you never hear directly. Many people wonder why some emotions feel stronger than others. This often comes from past experiences. If something hurt you once, your brain becomes careful. It watches for similar situations. It sends warning signals fast, even if the danger is small. This can make emotions feel intense, but it also means your brain is trying to protect you based on what it learned before. There are also emotions that appear without any clear reason. You may feel uneasy, or you may feel sad for no obvious cause. This happens when signals inside the body shift. Hormones change. Energy levels rise and fall. Memories move under the surface. All these small things can create emotions that feel mysterious. But even when you do not understand them, they still come from natural processes inside the mind and body. Some emotions help you grow. Calmness helps you think clearly. Joy helps you connect with others. Curiosity helps you learn. Gratitude helps you feel grounded. These emotions do not shout. They do not rush. They move gently. But they shape your awareness in powerful ways. They help you see life with a softer mind. There is also the feeling of empathy, when you sense someone else's emotions as if they were your own. This is one of the most beautiful parts of consciousness. The brain has special systems that mirror the feelings of others. When someone smiles, your brain feels a small version of that happiness. When someone looks sad, your mind feels a quiet echo of their sadness. This helps you understand people. It helps you care. It helps you connect in ways deeper than words. Sometimes emotions get stuck. You may hold on to a feeling for longer than you expected. This can happen when the mind tries to understand the event. It repeats it. It reviews it. It tries to find the meaning. The emotion stays until the mind finishes its work. This is why talking about feelings helps. It allows the brain to organize the thoughts that sit underneath the feeling. The most calming part of emotional consciousness is this: emotions change. They come, they go, they rise, they fall. None of them stay forever. Even the strongest ones soften. Even the most painful ones shift. And even the happiest ones make room for new ones. Your mind does not freeze. It keeps moving. It keeps learning. It keeps shaping your awareness. Right now, you may notice how your own feelings sit inside you. Maybe calm, maybe curious, maybe neutral, maybe something small you can't name. Whatever it is part of your inner world. It is a quiet signal from deep inside your mind and body, and it reminds you that awareness is not just thoughts. It is also emotion, soft, alive, always moving. When you close your eyes at night, it can feel like your mind steps into a second world. In this world, everything looks real, sounds real, and feels real, even though none of it is actually happening. This is why many people call dreams a second mind. They have their own rules, their own stories, and sometimes their own emotions that stay with you long after you wake up. It almost feels like another version of you is living a different life while you sleep. Have you ever woken up and wondered, how did my brain make that whole story? That question alone shows how powerful and mysterious the sleeping mind really is. Dreams feel real because your brain uses the same areas it uses when you are awake. When you see something in a dream, your brain is activating the visual parts just like it does when your eyes are open. When you hear voices or sounds in a dream, your brain lights up the same way it does when you hear real sounds in the outside world. Your heart might beat fast. You might feel scared, excited, or peaceful. The brain is so good at creating these scenes that your body reacts as if the dream world is truly happening. It is like watching a movie where you are the main character, but the movie takes place inside your mind. Most dreams happen during a special stage of sleep called REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement because your eyes move quickly under your eyelids while you sleep. During this stage, your brain is very active, almost as active as when you are awake. This is why dreams during REM sleep are often colorful, strange, and full of details. Scientists say that this stage helps your brain stay healthy. It is when your mind organizes memories, clears out stress, and builds new connections. You might not remember most dreams, but your brain still uses them to help you learn and stay balanced. One fascinating fact about REM sleep is that your body becomes almost frozen while your brain becomes busy. Your muscles relax so much that you cannot move, even though the dream version of you might be running, flying, or climbing a mountain. This is your brain's way of keeping you safe. It stops your body from acting out the dream. Imagine if you kicked or jumped every time your dream self did something wild. That would be dangerous. So your brain creates a safe barrier that lets the mind explore without harming your body. Your dreams are made from pieces of your day, your thoughts, emotions, memories, and even fears. The sleeping brain mixes them together like paint on a palette. One moment you might be in your school, and the next moment you are flying over a city, or talking to someone who looks familiar but acts completely different. The brain does not follow real-life logic while dreaming. Instead, it creates its own stories, sometimes strange, sometimes beautiful, and sometimes completely random. That mix is what makes dreams feel like a world where normal rules do not apply. But even though dreams can be odd, they often carry meaning. Your brain uses dreams to process things you did not have time to deal with while awake. Maybe something made you nervous during the day. That feeling can show up in a dream as a different story, but with the same emotion. Maybe you miss someone. That person might appear in your dreams even if you have not seen them in years. The mind uses dreams to heal, express, and explore without limits. This is why some people wake up after a dream and feel more relaxed or more clear-headed. The brain is working behind the scenes, even while you are asleep. There is also a special moment between being awake and being asleep. In this small doorway, your thoughts start blending with dream images. You might hear someone call your name, or see something flash behind your eyes, even though you are not fully dreaming yet. This moment can feel magical, like watching your mind switch worlds. Some people hear soft sounds or see shapes that fade in and out. Others feel like they are falling or floating. It is your brain slowly letting go of the outside world and stepping into the inner world where dreams live. This space is where waking consciousness and dreaming consciousness meet. Sometimes, you might even become aware that you are dreaming. This is called a lucid dream. When this happens, you know you are inside a dream, yet everything still feels real. Some people can even control their dreams when this happens. They can choose where to go or what to do. It feels like having superpowers inside your own mind. Not everyone has lucid dreams, but when they happen, they show how incredible the brain can be. It can create a full world and let you explore it while knowing none of it is actually happening. Even the emotions in dreams can feel stronger than real life. A tiny moment of fear can turn into a powerful chase. A small wish can turn into a huge adventure. A simple memory can turn into a whole story. Your brain uses dreams to bring out hidden thoughts and feelings, sometimes ones you did not even realize were there. Dreams can reveal what you care about, what worries you, and what your mind wants to explore. This is why dreams can leave such a deep impact. You might wake up thinking about them all day, wondering what they meant or why they felt so real. The sleeping mind is like a storyteller that never rests. Even when your eyes are closed and your body is still, your brain is busy building scenes, characters, and feelings. It creates places you have never been, people you have never met, and events that feel real but exist only in your imagination. And yet these dream worlds can teach you things about yourself. They reflect your inner thoughts, your creative side, and your emotional world. Every night when you fall asleep, your mind enters this second world. You may not remember every dream, but they shape your thoughts, your mood, and sometimes even your decisions. It is like having another part of yourself working quietly in the background, learning, healing, and imagining while you rest. So the next time you wake up from a dream that feels too real or too strange, remember that your brain is doing something amazing. It is creating a world inside a world, a second mind that comes to life only when the lights go out. And if you pay close attention, you might start to see how this secret world connects to the one you live in every day. What happens to consciousness when the senses we rely on are limited or missing? Imagine seeing the world without colors or hearing it without sound. For some people, this is their everyday life. Yet even when sight or hearing is missing, the mind remains alive, active, and full of experience. Consciousness does not vanish. In fact, it can adapt in ways that are both surprising and beautiful. The brain has ways to fill in gaps, to imagine, to sense, and even to perceive in ways that go beyond ordinary experience. Blindness, for instance, does not mean the absence of awareness. People who cannot see still experience rich mental lives. Some have learned to use touch, hearing, and smell to understand their surroundings in ways that most sighted people never notice. A blind person can walk through a crowded room and sense where objects and people are, sometimes even better than someone with vision. The brain reorganizes itself so that areas normally used for seeing can process sound or touch, making other senses stronger. In a way, blindness can unlock hidden powers of perception. This shows that consciousness is not just what we see. It is what we notice, what we feel, and how the mind interprets signals from the world. There is a fascinating skill called echolocation, where blind people make clicking sounds with their mouths and listen to the echoes that bounce back. This allows them to understand the size, shape, and distance of objects around them. Scientists have found that when blind people use echolocation, the visual part of their brain becomes active even though no light enters their eyes. The brain is essentially creating sight from sound. This is a powerful reminder that consciousness does not depend on any single sense. It is flexible, creative, and capable of turning what is missing into something new. Hearing loss, or deafness, also shows how consciousness works beyond ordinary perception. People who are deaf often rely on vision and touch in ways that reveal hidden layers of awareness. Sign language is one example, but even more than language, deaf individuals notice subtle movements, facial expressions, and vibrations that others may ignore. In some cases, the auditory cortex, the part of the brain usually dedicated to hearing, is repurposed for processing visual or tactile information. This means that the brain is always working to make sense of the world, even if some senses are unavailable. Consciousness is not silent when the ears are closed. It is listening in new ways. Limiting senses temporarily also gives clues about how the mind fills in gaps. When someone wears a blindfold, they often become more aware of sounds and touches they would normally overlook. When ears are blocked, they notice more colors, textures, and patterns in their environment. This shows that the mind is not passive. It actively searches for information and constructs an experience from whatever input is available. Consciousness does not disappear. It adapts and reshapes itself depending on the signals it receives. Sometimes, when all senses are reduced, imagination takes the lead. People who spend long hours in dark or silent places often report vivid mental images, sounds, or even feelings. The brain is always predicting, always creating, even when no external input is present. This is why sensory deprivation tanks can lead to hallucinations. It is not that the mind is broken. It is simply filling in gaps to create a coherent experience. Consciousness wants to know the world, and if the world does not provide information, the brain invents it. It is an incredible testament to how active and inventive our inner mind can be. Blind or deaf consciousness also shows that memory is a key part of awareness. Someone who has never seen might imagine colors based on what others describe, forming an inner picture that is unique to them. Someone who has lost hearing may still hear music in their mind, recalling melodies they once knew. Consciousness relies not only on current senses but also on stored experiences. The mind can replay past sensations, create new combinations, and even invent entirely new perceptions. Awareness is a dance between memory and imagination, always alive, even when sensory input is limited. Children born without certain senses provide especially strong examples. They experience the world fully, even without what most of us consider essential. Their consciousness is not less rich, it is just different. A blind child may explore textures, sounds, and smells with intense curiosity. A deaf child may notice patterns, movements, and vibrations that others miss. Their brains grow in ways that compensate for what is absent, showing how adaptable human awareness truly is. Consciousness is not tied to what is common. It is tied to what the mind can notice and understand. Even people with normal senses experience moments when awareness goes beyond what is physically present. Think of daydreams, memories, or imagination. You can picture a place you have never visited, hear a song you have never learned, or feel the emotions of someone else. These experiences do not require new sensory input. They come entirely from the mind. This shows that consciousness is always more than just what your body receives. It is a continuous construction of reality from what you know, what you feel, and what you imagine. The brain also blends senses together in fascinating ways. Some people experience synesthesia, where sounds may produce colors or numbers might have tastes. This happens because sensory pathways interact in unusual ways, creating a combined experience. Consciousness in these moments is richer, layered, and unique. It is proof that awareness is not just a collection of separate senses. It is the mind weaving all signals, real or imagined, into one seamless experience. The way the brain fills gaps also plays a role in creativity. Artists, writers, and inventors often imagine things they have never seen or heard. They combine memories and sensations in new ways. Consciousness beyond the senses is the seed of creativity. Even ordinary people experience this when they imagine a scene from a book or picture a friend's face. The mind constructs a version of the world that may be different from reality, but feels real enough to influence thoughts and emotions. Finally, studies with sensory loss show that consciousness is remarkably flexible. When one sense is lost, others compensate, and the mind often expands in unexpected ways. Awareness is not fixed. It can exist independently of the usual channels. Even when the brain receives less information from the outside world, it continues to create rich experiences, emotions, and understanding. Consciousness is not a simple product of the senses. It is the mind's way of knowing, interpreting, imagining, and feeling, no matter what the body can detect. So when you close your eyes, cover your ears, or imagine a place you have never seen, remember that your consciousness is not gone. It is working, exploring, creating, and filling in the gaps. It can sense what is missing, invent what is unknown, and build worlds from memory, sound, touch, and imagination. Your mind is active even when the senses are quiet. It is always aware, always alive, and always capable of experiencing more than you might expect. In the quiet of limited sensation, consciousness becomes a reminder that the mind is bigger than the world it sees or hears. It is a space where awareness finds a way, even when the senses cannot. Have you ever been in a crowd and felt emotions you didn't even know were yours? Maybe everyone around you started cheering, laughing, or even holding their breath in tension, and somehow you felt it too. This is part of something called collective consciousness. It is the invisible connection between people, the way awareness and feelings can flow through groups, almost like a soft web that links minds together. Even though you are an individual, your consciousness can reach beyond your own body and interact with the people around you. Scientists have discovered that our brains are designed to connect with others in ways that often happen without us noticing. One of the keys to this connection is something called mirror neurons. These are special brain cells that respond not only when we do something, but also when we see someone else do it. If you watch someone smile, your mirror neurons light up in the same way as if you were smiling yourself. If you see someone in pain, parts of your brain respond as though you are experiencing that pain. This is why we can empathize, feel joy for someone else's success, or wince when someone gets hurt. Mirror neurons create a bridge between our awareness and the awareness of others. When people are in groups, this connection can become even stronger. In a crowd at a concert, sporting event, or festival, individual awareness begins to sync up. People clap in rhythm, chant in unison, or cheer together. It feels natural, almost automatic. Scientists believe this happens because our brains are sensitive to timing, rhythm, and emotional cues from others. When many people share the same environment and focus on the same thing, their bodies and minds respond in harmony. This synchrony is a form of collective consciousness, a shared awareness that goes beyond what any single person feels. Emotions themselves are contagious. You may notice that being around happy people lifts your mood, or being near someone anxious makes you feel tense. This is because our brains are wired to pick up subtle signals like facial expressions, body language, and even tiny changes in tone of voice. We don't consciously think about it, yet our awareness adjusts to the emotional environment. Collective consciousness is not just about actions in sync. It's about feelings syncing too. The invisible web of human awareness allows us to sense the emotional state of a group, often before we even understand why we feel that way. Researchers have studied this effect in many settings. In classrooms, teachers notice that if one student becomes excited or frustrated, that feeling spreads. In workplaces, a team that feels motivated can boost productivity, while stress can ripple through everyone. At large events, scientists have measured heart rates, breathing patterns, and brain activity, showing that people in sync can have surprisingly aligned physiological responses. When awareness and emotions move together, the mind seems to expand beyond the limits of a single body, connecting with the group as a whole. This collective effect can happen quietly too. In small gatherings or even one-on-one interactions, people can unconsciously mirror each other's gestures, postures, or expressions. Have you ever noticed catching someone else's yawn? That simple act is an example of the soft web of consciousness at work. We are designed to feel, reflect, and adapt to the awareness of others. Even when we think we are alone in our thoughts, a hidden layer of our mind is always responsive to social signals, linking us invisibly to other human minds. There is also a fascinating phenomenon called social facilitation, where people perform better on tasks when others are watching. Your awareness changes when you know someone else is present. You might move faster, think more clearly, or act more confidently. Part of this is because your brain automatically compares itself to others and adjusts. In a way, your consciousness stretches outward, considering the group and your place within it. Collective awareness is not only about shared feelings. It also shapes behavior, decision-making, and even creativity. Groups can also experience a sense of shared purpose or identity. Soldiers, athletes, or performers often describe feeling as if they are part of one mind, moving and acting together without conscious planning. Scientists studying these experiences suggest that when attention, intention, and emotion align in a group, a temporary collective consciousness emerges. It is subtle and often fleeting, but powerful. People report feeling energized, deeply connected, and even transformed by being part of something bigger than themselves. Interestingly, technology is creating new ways for collective consciousness to form. Social media, online communities, and virtual gatherings allow people to share emotions, ideas, and experiences across the world in real time. Though physically apart, awareness can synchronize in surprising ways. A viral video, a trending idea, or a shared story can influence moods, thoughts, and behavior globally. The web of human consciousness is no longer limited to face-to-face interactions. It can stretch across distances, uniting people through shared attention and emotion. Collective consciousness also helps with learning and survival. Humans have evolved to observe, imitate, and absorb the knowledge of others. Watching someone else handle a dangerous situation teaches us without exposing us to risk. Sharing knowledge, warnings, and emotions allows groups to function more effectively. Awareness flows from one person to another, creating a network of shared understanding. This is not just practical. It is part of how human consciousness has grown and adapted over thousands of years. At a deeper level, collective consciousness reminds us that our awareness is never entirely isolated. Even when we feel alone, we are connected. Our emotions, attention, and intentions are shaped by those around us, often in ways too subtle to notice. The human mind is tuned to relationships, patterns, and rhythms of other minds. This invisible connection influences choices, feelings, and even thoughts, linking individuals into a larger, shared field of consciousness. This connection can also create beauty and wonder. Think of a choir singing together, a crowd cheering in unison, or a group meditating quietly. The shared experience feels more powerful than any individual effort. Awareness merges, emotions amplify, and a sense of unity emerges. This is a gentle but profound demonstration of how consciousness is both personal and collective. It is at once inside your own mind and reaching outward toward others. Understanding collective consciousness also makes us more aware of our responsibility. Our awareness affects others, just as theirs affects us. Being mindful of our emotions, actions, and intentions can influence the web of consciousness around us. Small gestures, kind words, and shared attention ripple through the group, shaping experiences beyond ourselves. Awareness is not contained. It flows, interacts, and spreads in ways we can feel and sometimes see. In quiet moments, it is fascinating to reflect on this. Sitting in a room with others, walking through a busy street, or even scrolling through a social feed, your consciousness is part of a much larger system. You are linked to millions of other minds, connected through shared attention, emotion, and understanding. The soft web of human awareness surrounds you, shaping the way you see, feel, and act, often without you even realizing it. Collective consciousness is a reminder that we are never truly alone. Our minds are alive, aware, and connected in ways that reach far beyond the limits of a single body. Have you ever looked into the eyes of a dog, a dolphin, or even a crow and felt like they were looking back at you in a knowing way? That feeling might be closer to reality than you think. Animals are far more aware than we often give them credit for. Consciousness is not only a human experience. Many creatures show signs of self-awareness, memory, emotions, and intelligence, even in ways that can surprise us. Scientists have been studying animal minds for decades, and what they are discovering is both fascinating and humbling. One of the most famous ways researchers test self-awareness in animals is called the mirror test. In this test, a mark or sticker is placed on an animal in a place they cannot see without a mirror. If the animal notices the mark and tries to investigate or remove it while looking in the mirror, it is taken as evidence that the creature recognizes itself. Great apes like chimpanzees and orangutans often pass this test. Dolphins, elephants, and even some magpies have shown similar results. This suggests that these animals have a sense of a consciousness that includes an understanding of themselves as individuals, separate from the world around them. Memory is another window into animal consciousness. Many animals remember past experiences and use those memories to plan for the future. Elephants, for example, are known for their long-term memory. They can remember water sources, dangerous predators, and even other elephants they have not seen for years. Birds like crows and ravens can recall human faces and hold grudges or form alliances based on past interactions. Even dogs and cats seem to anticipate routines and remember people, places, and events in ways that guide their daily behavior. Memory in animals shows that consciousness is not just about the present moment. It also involves a sense of continuity across time. Animals also experience emotions. This might seem obvious when a dog wags its tail or a cat purrs, but emotions go far deeper than surface behaviors. Studies show that animals can feel joy, grief, empathy, fear, and even frustration. Elephants have been seen mourning the death of companions, touching the bones of the dead, and staying near them for hours or even days. Primates console each other after fights, showing understanding and care. Birds can become stressed if their flock is disturbed, and many species experience pleasure during play. These emotional capacities suggest that animals are conscious in a way that goes beyond simple instinct. They have an inner life that responds to experiences and relationships. Surprisingly, some of the simplest life forms display awareness in ways that challenge traditional ideas about intelligence. Octopuses are incredible examples. Despite having brains very different from mammals, octopuses can solve puzzles, open jars, and navigate mazes. They can remember solutions and use learning from past experiences to tackle new challenges. Even creatures with small or unusual brains, like certain birds, show problem-solving abilities that rival primates. Intelligence, it turns out, can take many forms, and consciousness might be more widespread in the animal kingdom than we once imagined. Communication is another sign of consciousness. Many animals use sounds, gestures, or visual signals to share information, warn each other of danger, or express emotions. Dolphins produce complex vocalizations that scientists believe function like names, allowing them to identify individuals. Bees perform dances to explain the location of flowers to their hive mates. Elephants use low-frequency sounds to communicate over long distances. Communication is more than instinct. It requires understanding, memory, and a sense of context. It shows that animals are aware not only of themselves, but also of others around them. The study of animal consciousness is not only about observing behavior. Modern technology allows scientists to look at brain activity in animals, showing patterns that resemble human consciousness. For example, certain regions of a dog's brain activate in response to familiar voices, smells, or faces. Dolphins and primates show brain activity linked to problem-solving and social interaction. Birds display neurological patterns that correspond to memory and learning. These insights suggest that consciousness in animals is built from the same basic principles as human awareness, even if it looks different on the surface. One of the most fascinating aspects is that animals can sometimes show consciousness in unexpected ways. Some birds, like African gray parrots, can understand concepts of shape, color, and number. They can respond to questions and even show preferences or judgments. Octopuses can remember individual humans and react differently depending on past encounters. Dogs can sense emotions in their human companions and respond with comforting behaviors. All of this indicates that consciousness is not a single, fixed thing. It can appear in many forms, suited to each species' needs, abilities, and environment. Even the way animals dream suggests a rich conscious life. Cats twitch their paws and whiskers while sleeping, dogs bark softly in their sleep, and rats' brain activity during rest shows patterns similar to learning and memory consolidation. Dreaming indicates that the brain is processing experiences, emotions, and perhaps even imagined scenarios. It is a sign that consciousness continues even when the animal is asleep, exploring experiences beyond immediate perception. Animal consciousness also challenges our moral and ethical understanding. If animals are aware, feel emotions, and remember experiences, then how we treat them matters deeply. Scientists, philosophers, and ethicists argue that acknowledging animal consciousness should influence how we interact with and care for other species. Awareness of their inner lives can inspire compassion, careful treatment, and a deeper respect for life on Earth. Interestingly, observing animals can also teach us more about our own consciousness. When we see a dog grieve, a crow solve a puzzle, or an elephant show empathy, we are witnessing the same fundamental processes that happen in our own brains: memory, emotion, attention, and self-awareness. Animals remind us that consciousness is not limited to humans. It is a shared experience in the web of life, manifesting in many forms, shapes, and ways. Even simple acts, like a dog choosing a favorite toy or a bird solving a puzzle, carry traces of awareness. These moments show that animals are not just reacting to the world, they are experiencing it, making decisions, learning, and feeling. Consciousness is alive in them, often hidden in ways we do not immediately notice. It may be quiet, subtle, and slow, but it is present, shaping behavior, memory, and emotional life. In the end, animal consciousness is a reminder that our understanding of the mind is still expanding. Humans are not the only beings with inner lives. Across the animal kingdom, creatures show awareness, memory, emotion, learning, and problem solving. The mirror test, memory experiments, observations of play and grief, and studies of communication all point to the reality that consciousness is not uniquely human. By studying animals, we glimpse the broader mystery of awareness and see that life itself is filled with minds that perceive, feel, and know in ways both familiar and surprising. Looking into the eyes of an animal, hearing the complex songs of birds, watching elephants interact, or observing a clever crow solving a puzzle, we are reminded that consciousness is everywhere in the world around us. It is not just inside our heads. It is in the hearts and minds of other beings, connecting life across species, showing us that awareness, emotion, memory, and intelligence are threads woven deeply into the fabric of existence. Animals in their many forms reveal a hidden richness of conscious experience, inviting us to pause, watch, and understand the world in a gentler, more connected way. Have you ever been so focused on something that the world around you seemed to disappear? Maybe you were painting, writing, playing music, or even solving a problem, and suddenly time felt different, the room faded away, and nothing else seemed to matter. That state, often called flow, is a type of altered consciousness. Altered states are special moments when our usual awareness changes. They are times when the brain and mind work differently, and the way we perceive ourselves and the world can stretch, soften, or shift. One of the most well-known altered states is meditation. Meditation has been practiced for thousands of years in many cultures, but modern science is just beginning to understand how it affects the brain. During meditation, especially deep focus or mindfulness meditation, people notice that their thoughts slow down, emotions become calmer, and awareness can feel both expanded and quiet. Brain scans show that areas related to attention and self-awareness light up differently, and some regions that normally generate constant chatter quiet down. People report feeling a sense of peace, timelessness, or even a loss of the sense of self. This does not happen immediately. Meditation is like training the mind, showing it how to enter a state where awareness is flexible and gentle. Flow is another fascinating altered state. Athletes, artists, and performers often describe moments when they are completely absorbed in what they are doing. Michael Jordan on the basketball court, a violinist in the middle of a concert, or a writer fully caught in a story may feel like their mind is operating effortlessly. In flow, consciousness is highly focused but also effortless. The brain is busy, but the usual self-conscious thoughts fade away. People lose track of time, forget about hunger or tiredness, and their performance often improves. Scientists have studied flow and found changes in brainwave patterns, with decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-judgment and overthinking. This creates a mental space where awareness is free to explore, act, and create without interference. Hypnosis is another state where consciousness changes in unusual ways. In hypnosis, a person is guided into a state of deep relaxation and focused attention. Their brain becomes highly suggestible, meaning that their attention can be directed towards certain ideas, sensations, or behaviors. People under hypnosis may experience time differently, feel certain parts of their body in unusual ways, or even forget minor details temporarily. Brain imaging shows changes in areas that process attention, perception, and self-awareness. Hypnosis is not about losing control. Rather, it is a demonstration of how flexible our awareness can be, and how the mind can focus intensely on certain experiences while ignoring others. Dreaming, especially lucid dreaming, is another type of altered state. In lucid dreams, the dreamer knows they are dreaming and can sometimes direct the story or interact with the dream consciously. Brain activity in lucid dreaming shows a mix of wakefulness and REM sleep patterns. People in lucid dreams can solve problems, rehearse skills, or experience vivid scenarios with full awareness of the dream state. This shows that consciousness is not limited to waking life. It can operate in flexible, layered ways even while the body rests. Even simple deep focus or daydreaming can be considered altered states of consciousness. When reading a captivating story, playing a musical instrument, or building something with your hands, the brain can enter states where attention and awareness work differently than in ordinary life. Thoughts may flow effortlessly, creativity may increase, and emotions may feel sharper or softer. These moments reveal that consciousness is not always a steady, fixed experience. It can stretch, bend, and flow depending on what the mind is doing and how attention is directed. Different states of consciousness are often accompanied by changes in brain waves. Normal waking consciousness mostly involves beta waves, which are fast and active, supporting everyday thought, attention, and problem solving. When we relax or meditate, alpha waves increase, slowing down the mind and creating a gentle, calm awareness. Deep sleep or very quiet meditation can involve theta waves, linked to creativity, intuition, and memory processing. Some very deep states show delta waves, the slowest brain waves, associated with deep rest and regeneration. Watching these waves change reminds us that our conscious experience is connected to physical patterns in the brain, and those patterns can shift in ways that feel completely different from ordinary waking life. One of the most interesting things about altered states is that they often feel like a change in self. In meditation or flow, people can feel less stuck, in their usual thoughts or self-image. In hypnosis, they may experience thoughts and sensations in new ways. In lucid dreaming, they can act inside a world that obeys different rules. These states reveal that consciousness is not just a single thing in the brain. It is a collection of experiences that can expand, narrow, or move in different directions depending on attention, brain activity, and context. Practices like deep meditation, yoga, or mindful breathing are tools to explore altered states safely. They teach people to notice subtle changes in thought, perception, and emotion. Even without formal practice, altered states can occur naturally. Moments of awe, intense focus, sudden inspiration, or complete relaxation can all temporarily change how we experience consciousness. Scientists study these moments because they provide clues about how the mind works and how flexible awareness really is. Another fascinating element is how altered states can improve mental health and well-being. Meditation and flow experiences reduce stress, improve emotional regulation, and even strengthen attention over time. Hypnosis can help with pain management, phobias, and habits. Dreams and creative states allow the brain to process memories and emotions in ways that waking consciousness cannot. These benefits suggest that experiencing consciousness in different ways is not just interesting, it can be deeply healing and beneficial. Even more subtle, altered states show us that perception is not fixed. What we see, feel, and experience can change depending on attention, context, and brain activity. A simple change in focus or breathing can shift awareness from ordinary thought to calm insight. Music can move us into deep emotional states. Art, nature, and interaction can create moments where consciousness feels wider, softer, or more alive. These experiences remind us that our mind is not rigid. It is adaptable, capable of moving in patterns that surprise us, soothe us, and expand our sense of being. Finally, exploring altered states is a reminder that consciousness is not a single constant thing. It is a living, changing process. At times, it can stretch beyond the usual limits, soften into calm, or expand into flow and creativity. Our ordinary waking mind is only one version of awareness. Meditation, flow, hypnosis, dreaming, and deep focus reveal that consciousness can take many forms, all equally real and meaningful. Learning to notice these changes gives us a sense of wonder, curiosity, and understanding of our own minds, as well as a quiet appreciation for the flexibility and beauty of awareness itself. The next time you feel completely absorbed in an activity, notice your breath in meditation, or recall a vivid dream, remember that your consciousness is showing its amazing range. It is moving, stretching, and softening, creating experiences that feel real, meaningful, and sometimes magical. These altered states are windows into the mind, offering glimpses of what awareness can be when it is free to move beyond ordinary patterns. By paying attention to them, we learn not only about ourselves, but also about the incredible ways consciousness shapes our experience of the world. Have you ever wondered what happens in the last moments of life? Not the stories we hear in books or movies, but the real experiences people report when they are very close to death. These moments are strange, calm, and sometimes beautiful. People who survive near-death experiences often describe vivid awareness, even when their body is failing. It is as if consciousness has one last burst of life before it leaves the body. Scientists have studied these events carefully, and they reveal astonishing facts about the brain and awareness. Near-death experiences are surprisingly common. People who have survived cardiac arrest, severe trauma, or life-threatening accidents often report seeing tunnels of light, feeling floating above their bodies, or experiencing a deep sense of peace. Some describe meeting deceased loved ones, encountering strange landscapes, or having a feeling of understanding everything about their life and the world. These reports are remarkably consistent across cultures and ages, suggesting that there is a common human experience at the edge of death. Brain activity during these moments is both fascinating and mysterious. Studies of patients undergoing cardiac arrest show that even after the heart stops, the brain can continue to produce organized electrical signals for several seconds. These signals are intense bursts of activity in areas involved in memory, emotion, and awareness. It is as if the brain is running one last review of life's events, recalling important memories and even creating sensations that feel real. Some scientists call these final flashes of awareness. The timing is precise. The heart may have stopped pumping blood, yet the brain keeps firing for a brief period, allowing conscious-like experiences. One of the most striking aspects of near-death experiences is the feeling of peace. Despite extreme trauma or danger, many people report a calm that is deeper than anything they have felt while alive. Fear, panic, and pain often disappear in these moments. This peacefulness can be so intense that survivors say they would not want to return to their body, even though they eventually do. Researchers are still trying to understand why the brain generates this sense of serenity. Some think it may be due to chemicals released in the brain, such as endorphins or serotonin, which create a calming effect. Others wonder if it is part of a natural biological process designed to ease the transition at the end of life. Another common report is seeing a tunnel or a bright light. People often describe moving through a long tunnel, with light at the end, feeling as though they are moving towards something familiar and welcoming. Some interpret this as a spiritual experience, while scientists propose that it may be caused by reduced blood flow to the eyes and brain, which creates visual patterns similar to a tunnel or glow. Even so, the experience feels real to the person undergoing it, with full awareness and emotional depth. The light is often described as warm, loving, and alive, creating a sensation of comfort and safety. People sometimes report life reviews during near-death experiences. In these moments, they see past events replayed, not just visually, but as a full understanding of actions, emotions, and consequences. It is as if the brain is examining life in an instant, connecting memories and feelings in a profound way. Some describe feeling the impact of their actions on others, experiencing empathy and understanding that they never had before. Scientists studying this say that the brain's memory networks are highly active during these final seconds, and the combination of stress, lack of oxygen, and chemical surges may produce vivid and emotional recollections. Near-death experiences also challenge our understanding of consciousness. These events occur when the body is barely alive, sometimes with minimal brain oxygen. Yet people report awareness, sensation, and cognition. How is it possible for consciousness to feel so vivid when the body is failing? Some scientists argue that it is a trick of the brain, a final surge of neural activity. Others suggest it may point to a deeper mystery, that awareness is more resilient than we think, and not entirely dependent on normal physical processes. Whether explained by science or left as mystery, these experiences show that consciousness can extend beyond what we normally consider its limits. Interestingly, not all near-death experiences are positive or peaceful. Some people report fear, darkness, or distress, showing that the brain can produce extreme awareness in either direction. This may depend on personality, past experiences, or even the situation at hand. It reminds us that consciousness is highly subjective, shaped by the mind's expectations, memories, and emotional state. Even in extreme moments, awareness is active, responsive, and complex, proving that the mind is never fully passive, even when the body is in crisis. Cultural beliefs can influence how people experience near-death events. In some cultures, people see religious figures or familiar ancestors. In others, they experience abstract lights or cosmic patterns. Despite differences, many core elements are shared. A sense of separation from the body, vivid clarity, and feelings of peace or awe. This suggests that there may be universal ways the brain responds to life-threatening situations, creating similar experiences across human history. Scientists have begun to study near-death experiences in controlled ways. For example, patients in cardiac arrest have been monitored with EEG machines to track brain activity. Surprisingly, some show high-frequency bursts that indicate consciousness-like processing, even when the heart is stopped. These studies do not prove anything about what happens after death, but they do show that the brain is capable of producing vivid experiences in extreme situations. The patterns are unusual, intense, and different from ordinary brain activity, offering a glimpse into consciousness operating at the edge. Even more remarkable are cases where patients report awareness while under anesthesia or in medically induced comas. These experiences are similar to near-death events, suggesting that consciousness can sometimes operate independently of ordinary sensory input. It is as if the mind continues to create experiences, thoughts, and feelings, even when the body and usual perception systems are offline. This resilience of awareness hints at a mind that is flexible, adaptive, and still largely mysterious. Near-death experiences also affect people after they survive. Many report lasting changes in personality, priorities, and values. They often become less fearful, more compassionate, and more appreciative of life. This shows that these experiences, even if brief, can have a long-term effect on conscious awareness and how we live. It suggests that the brain and mind are deeply connected, not only in producing experiences, but also in shaping how we interpret and respond to life itself. At the edge of death, consciousness seems to reveal its incredible adaptability. It can remain vivid even when the body is weak, oxygen is low, and time seems to stop. People report seeing, feeling, remembering, and understanding in ways that are astonishing. Some experiences may have clear scientific explanations, like chemical surges or brain activity, while others remain mysterious, defying easy answers. Either way, near-death experiences remind us that awareness is not a simple switch that turns off when the heart stops. It is a living, dynamic process, capable of surprising beauty and depth. Thinking about these moments can also help us appreciate life. Knowing that consciousness can remain active, vivid, and even peaceful at the edge of death encourages us to value the moments we have, to notice our awareness, and to explore the richness of our minds while we are alive. Near-death experiences are windows into the final moments of consciousness, showing us what is possible when the brain and mind push to their limits. They are rare, profound, and mysterious, offering insights that both science and personal reflection can explore. The next time you consider the fragility of life, remember that consciousness is astonishingly resilient. It can shine, expand, and create meaningful experiences even at the edge of death. These moments remind us of the power and beauty of awareness, and how much we still have to learn about the mind, the brain, and the deepest parts of what it means to be conscious. Have you ever wondered where consciousness comes from? This is one of the biggest questions in all of science and philosophy. Even after centuries of thinking, studying, and experimenting, no one knows the full answer. Some people think consciousness is purely biological, something that emerges from the brain and its billions of neurons. Others wonder if it is something more fundamental, maybe a basic part of the universe itself. The truth is, we are still exploring, and the mystery is part of what makes it so fascinating. Many scientists and philosophers believe consciousness arises from the brain. They study neurons, synapses, and the chemical signals that flow through them. Every thought, feeling, and memory seems to be linked to electrical patterns in the brain. When we pay attention, when we dream, when we remember our past or imagine the future, the brain is always active. The billions of neurons talk to each other, creating a network so complex that even the smartest computer we have cannot match it. From this network, awareness may simply emerge, a product of the interactions inside the brain. In this view, consciousness is entirely biological, dependent on the brain and its functioning. If the brain stops, awareness stops. It is a remarkable process, showing how a physical system can produce something so rich, so personal, and so alive. But not everyone thinks it is just biology. Some scientists and philosophers suggest consciousness may be more fundamental than the brain. They imagine that awareness could be a basic property of the universe, like energy or space. In this view, brains do not create consciousness. They channel it or allow it to appear in a form we can experience. This idea is called panpsychism. It may sound strange, but it is taken seriously by some researchers. They argue that if we look at the universe in a certain way, consciousness could exist everywhere in small forms, like a hidden layer of reality we cannot yet measure. In this sense, our brains are not the origin, but rather a filter or amplifier for something that is already there. Some thinkers even suggest consciousness might be a form of energy. They imagine it as a subtle force that interacts with matter, organizing it and creating experiences. This idea is not proven, and it is highly speculative, but it opens the mind to possibilities beyond what we can easily see or test. It challenges the assumption that awareness must always depend on physical structures. If consciousness is some form of energy, then the question becomes even bigger. Could it exist without a brain? Could it survive in ways we do not yet understand? Technology and artificial intelligence are also shaping ideas about consciousness. Some researchers are trying to create machines that think, learn, and maybe even become aware. These efforts raise huge questions. If a machine can mimic human thought perfectly, could it ever have its own awareness? Or is consciousness something only a living brain can produce? Experiments in AI are helping us understand what awareness requires, but they also remind us that even with incredible simulations, awareness is more than processing information. It involves experience, emotion, and the feeling of being alive inside a mind. Scientists and philosophers also wonder about evolution and consciousness. How did it begin in humans or animals? Some think it started as a survival advantage, helping creatures notice danger, plan for the future, or communicate with others. Others believe it may be an inevitable feature of complex systems, something that emerges naturally when networks become large and intricate enough. In this view, consciousness is not special to humans. It is a consequence of organization, complexity, and interaction. The more we study brains and nervous systems in different animals, the more we see that awareness exists in many forms, some very different from our own. This suggests that consciousness may have multiple layers, degrees, and styles across the living world. Despite all this research, we still do not know the ultimate origin of consciousness. Is it purely material, purely fundamental, or some mix of both? Could it exist beyond our physical universe? Could it continue in some form after death? These questions are still open, and maybe they will always remain partly unanswered. But that uncertainty is part of the beauty. Consciousness itself is about awareness, curiosity, and wonder. Thinking about its origin connects us to a mystery bigger than any one mind. It is a gentle reminder that there is so much we have yet to explore, and that exploration itself is a part of being alive. Some experiments and observations hint at fascinating possibilities. For example, even very simple life forms like tiny insects or single-celled creatures show behaviors that suggest awareness. They respond to their environment, make decisions, and adapt to challenges. Could consciousness in some form exist at this basic level? If so, it means awareness is more widespread and ancient than we usually think. On the other hand, human consciousness is unique in its complexity. We can reflect on ourselves, imagine distant futures, and wonder about the universe. This combination of simple and complex awareness makes the study of consciousness endlessly interesting. The future of consciousness also includes the mind's potential to change and expand. With meditation, learning, and even brain-computer technology, people are exploring ways to extend awareness. We may find that consciousness is not fixed, but flexible and adaptable. It can grow, deepen, and connect in ways we cannot yet fully imagine. By studying altered states, near-death experiences, and meditation, we learn that awareness is dynamic. It is shaped by the brain, by experience, and possibly by forces we do not fully understand. Thinking about consciousness this way encourages a sense of humility and curiosity. We realize that even with all our knowledge, there is a vast, gentle mystery at the heart of our minds. It is okay not to have all the answers. In fact, the open-ended nature of the question is part of what makes awareness so rich. Each thought, feeling, and experience we have is a small glimpse into something far bigger. The more we notice our own awareness, the more we appreciate the wonder of being conscious. As we imagine the future, it is exciting to consider that consciousness may continue to surprise us. New discoveries in neuroscience, physics, and philosophy could reveal patterns we have not yet seen. We may learn to understand how minds connect, how awareness flows, or even how it can exist in forms beyond our own. The mystery is gentle, inviting, and ever-present. Thinking about consciousness can make us feel connected to something larger, a quiet, deep web of experience that links minds, brains, and perhaps even the universe itself. The origin of consciousness, like its future, remains a soft and open question. Some answers may come from biology, others from physics, and others may come from experiences that cannot be measured in a lab. Each possibility is fascinating. Each one adds to the richness of life. And even though we cannot fully explain it yet, simply being aware, noticing thoughts, feelings, and sensations is enough to connect us to the mystery. In the end, consciousness is a gentle journey, a quiet presence that we carry inside us every moment. It can amaze us, surprise us, and even soothe us. It can stretch from our thoughts to dreams, from emotions to awareness of the world around us. Its origins and ultimate fate may remain unknown, but simply noticing it, exploring it, and being curious about it is part of the human experience. And as we close this journey, we leave with a gentle reminder. Consciousness is here now, as you watch and listen, as you feel and notice, a soft and wondrous part of life. It may have begun with neurons or with something deeper. It may stretch into the future in ways we cannot yet imagine. The mystery is open, calm, and inviting, a quiet invitation to be aware, to notice, and to simply be.